Hello guys, this is Angel Michael. Welcome to my channel, and I got another good one for you today. It's called Christian Female Writer Joins #MeToo Bandwagon. Now that's my title. Of course, her title is something a little different, and I'll tell you what that is. Now the title of the article this is from Christianity Today, another liberal rag. It says, Beth Moore, male evangelical leader, smack of misogyny, objectification, and astonishing disesteem of women. Now, this is by Beth Moore, who's a prominent female writer. She sells a lot of books to different evangelical organizations, and Lifeway has many of her books. And my own mother has read her books. Now this is what she has to say. Beth Moore, the prominent U.S. evangelical teacher, has criticized the colossal disregard and disrespect of women shown by male Christian leaders. The author and founder of Living Proof Ministries revealed how she is dismissed and ridiculed in meetings with other evangelical leaders or ignored when sharing a car with them. She said she is labeled a heretic by fundamentalists who refuse to read her teaching books because they refuse to study what a woman had taught. Well, it has nothing to do with them being respectful. They just happen to believe what the Bible has to say. That's not being disrespectful, but of course, you can't explain that to feminists. Anyway, describing meeting a male theologian who said she had long admired, she said, the instant I met him, he looked me up and down, smiled approvingly, and said, "You are better looking than blank." He didn't leave it blank. He actually spoke the woman's Bible teacher woman's name. Now I agree with her on that statement. That's being disrespectful. But to lump all of evangelicals into that category, no, that's uncalled for. I don't know. My father does most definitely, and I do not do stuff like that. And a lot of good pastors are disrespectful to women like that. In a blog post on Thursday, she says some key Christian leaders had attitudes that smacked of misogyny, objectification, and astonishing disesteem of women, and it spread like wildfire. I mean, that's just a stupid, ignorant, feminist comment, and I'll explain more in a minute. I came face to face with one of the most demoralizing realizations of my adult life. Scripture was not the reason for the colossal disregard and respect of women among many of these men. It was only an excuse. Sin was the reason, ungodliness. Well, that's partially true. I do know that there are some supposedly good men, even pastors, who are not godly men, and I agree with that statement. But she's trying to lump a whole big group together as being misogynist. Let me read the rest of it first, and then I'll give you my assessment. Moore said she had tried to be deferential in her ministry and described how she would wear flats instead of heels if she was leading with a man shorter than her so as not to undermine him. Okay. This is where I cry foul, and not for my own sake. Most of my life is behind me. I do so for the sake of my gender, for the sake of our sisters in Christ, and for the sake of other female leaders who will be faced with similar challenges, she wrote. These examples may seem fairly benign in light of recent scandals of sexual abuse and assault coming to light, but the attitudes are growing from the same dangerously malignant root. Many women have experienced horrific abuse within the power structures of the Christian world. Being any part of shaping misogynistic attitudes, whether or not they result in criminal behavior, is sinful and harmful and produces terrible fruit. It also paints us continually as weak-willed women and seductresses. I think I can speak for many of us when I say we are neither interested in reducing or seducing our brothers. Partially understand where she's coming from. There are some really, even among Christians, there are still some that are, not very good Christian people. They have, they're human. And I do not give excuses for these types of men and their behaviors. However, let's be realistic here. I'll give you my own story. Do I feel sorry for her? No, I do not in the slightest. Because I can tell you right now, she was not abused in any way. Yes, she was. They basically snubbed her, which was not right. And I don't know, this whole thing about objectification is ridiculous. Uh, what I said earlier about the evangelical person looking at her and claiming she's prettier than the such and such other person, that was not very nice. Now, whether you call that misogynistic, see, the thing is, people today are taking words from the dictionary, like the word misogynist, and they are painting it completely different from what it actually means in the dictionary. Basically, they're redefining words. That's what they want to do, is redefine words. To be a misogynist is somebody who hates women. This person here doesn't hate women. It basically maybe demeans women. He's being disrespectful, but that's not what the definition of misogyny is. So that's what they're doing, is they're changing and they're trying to reword the definition of that particular word. So now it changes from day to day, from month to month. So you never know. It's just anything that offends a woman basically is misogynistic, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. That's why guys have to go around walking on eggshells, because they're afraid they might hurt some females' feelings, which I think is totally ridiculous. And it shouldn't be this way in Christian circles. Now, I agree with what she's saying here. There should be respect from both sides. Men should treat women with respect, and women should treat men with respect. But I'm seeing more of the other way coming, where these women are wearing the feelings on their sleeves and have absolutely nothing but a little tiff about every single thing people say. They're not being Christians at all. They're letting the devil control their emotions. I mean, you want to talk about being treated like an object, or being discriminated against. I can tell you some real tales from my own life about being discriminated against or being bullied. I mean, what she is talking about is nothing compared to what some other people have to deal with. Since I was a child, I had people bully me, try to, especially boys when I was growing up. Nobody wanted to be my friend because I was a little different. I mean, I had people threaten me with physical violence because I wasn't masculine enough. I had kids calling me gay faggot and everything else you can possibly imagine. Even when I was in college, I remember I was just minding my own business. And there were a group of boys, well, I call them boys. They were in their late teens, early 20s. And they decided they were going to pick on me because they were trying to show off to their girlfriends how masculine and tough they were. They were sitting there talking about how they were going to abuse the little fag boy. That's what they called me. So, you want to talk about knowing what abuse is. I mean, that's a real abuse. One of them tried to stab me, and it was in a dark room. I was taking a photography class at the local college. Back in those days, everything was done the old-fashioned way with the dark room. Of course, today we don't even use that technology. That's antiquated room, and it was dark in there. All right, he had it wasn't a pocket knife. It was a sharp razor blade, and he thought he was trying to be cute. But luckily, somebody was standing beside me and stopped him from doing it, and I didn't find out about it till later. And he was getting ready to stab me with that thing, and somebody stopped him, which I'm very thankful for. And another guy was sitting at a table, and I'm sure he knew I was in the room. He was doing it on purpose to show off how, macho or whatever he was to his girlfriend or girlfriends about what he was going to do to me because, I was a little fag boy according to him. So I've had to deal with that, and then even before I got out of high school, I had several different occasions where a couple of big black boys tried to basically sexually assault me, and it was not exactly a very fun situation to be in. luckily nothing happened because I got away from them. They thought it was funny. They were gay, both of them, and they weren't. I was a little skinny, only 5'7", probably weighed 125 pounds. Both of these boys were big, 6'3", 6'4". One of them weighed probably 250, and they could have easily raped me if they wanted to at that time. So, yeah, I mean, guys go through all kinds of abuse, and I never did even tell my parents until years later what happened. I was embarrassed. Nobody talked about that sort of thing back then. That was almost 40 years ago. And it was embarrassing to talk about. I didn't want anybody to know that that somebody had tried to do something like that to me, and there wasn't anybody for me to go talk to. I mean, I guess I could have told the principal or a teacher or something, but you're supposed to be, if you're a guy, you're supposed to be all tough and everything. Everybody tells you that. So I kept it to myself basically for a long time. I didn't tell anybody. So here we got these women complaining because somebody made them feel uncomfortable. So that you're a misogynist because you said or did something that made me feel uncomfortable. Well, lady, you don't even know what uncomfortable is. How would you like for somebody to sexually assault you? That was at least twice. And then, like I said, in college, I had somebody try to stab me because I was different or whatever. And I mean, that's a terrible thing for a young person to have to go through. And then as an adult, I've been discriminated against because I'm a male. It wasn't a secular. Wasn't a secular job I was discriminated against. What the deal is here is that I was interested in being a pastor, and I have my Master of Divinity degree. And if you go online, you're looking at different positions. One of the qualifications says you have to be married and you have to have family. Well, according to the Bible, I don't know of anywhere it said you had to be married and had to have a family, because Apostle Paul went around preaching. Well, of course, not every single job is posted that way. There are some jobs where you don't have to be married and don't have to have a family. But personally, I think that's discrimination. I mean, what does it matter? I can understand it if you don't have enough experience, but I was applying for jobs. You're talking about late 40s and 50ish man. I'm 52 years old. I may not have experience in that particular field, but I have lots of other experience, not to mention life experience. And I've had relationships as well. So I don't understand how they can get away with saying that they require a person to be married. But anyway, and then of course there's a friend of mine who also has talked about how he was discriminated. They didn't want to hire him for a church type position because he was a blue collar worker. They wanted somebody who had a white collar type job, and so he worked in a factory, and they were basically looking down on him because they didn't think he was worthy to take the position, which that's against Scripture. And it's also if this was a regular secular job, he and I both could probably sue if it was a secular type job. So I don't think that's right. I seriously doubt that this woman here has ever had that problem where she couldn't get a job because she was either a female or single. And am I saying that to get sympathy? No, I'm not a victim. I don't consider myself to be a victim, but it sounds to me like she does. That she's going around complaining and saying she's a little victim because she's a little female. And she said that she felt like that people considered her to be a seducer. Oh, I don't know. I don't know this woman. I would say that about anyone. That's just her comment. That wasn't a quote from a particular pastor. That she just kind of said that off the cuff. I don't know. I mean, I don't know people's thoughts, and she doesn't either. Unless she's clairvoyant, and I don't think she is. So, I mean, I think it's kind of ridiculous that she would make a comment saying these men are misogynistic. Now, I think these people are disrespectful that she'd mentioned here, and nobody has any business, talking to her the way they did. But whether you call that misogynistic, I don't. According to my understanding of the definition, they keep changing the definition of everything. All this politically correct bull crap. You get really tired of it. So you just listen, just from my own story. And then she was talking about being objectified. Oh, good Lord. I've been objectified ever since I was a teenager. I remember even when I was a teenager, I had some big, fat, ugly black girl. I'm not trying to be nice here. Basically a bitch. That's what she was. And she was coming on to me and expecting me to be all over her. And I'm like, I don't even know who she was from Adam. And then I didn't respond to her, so she won't call me all kinds of ugly names. So that that happens to guys too, and I don't blame them. I don't go around oogling and saying stuff to females because I've had that stuff done to me and I don't appreciate it. And as an adult, the same thing. I even had school teachers when I was a teacher. This one woman came on to me and she basically implied that we should be lovers and go home and have sex or something. That's basically what she said, but she'd said it in a nicer way. And I was shocked because I had no idea this woman didn't look like the type of person that would say something like that. And then I also had this woman when I used to go to our local Kmart, which is now closed. But every time I'd go to her department, she would hit on me and say all kinds of sexual stuff. If I said the stuff that she said to me, I'd been in trouble. I mean, I guess I could have reported her, but I don't know. I just didn't want to make a big scene over it. But that's just the way women are. I mean, they have their feelings on the sleeve, and the slightest little thing, and they're ready to call the cops. But if a guy does it, it's a joke. A guy that's not supposed to have any feelings. I think it's ridiculous. Oh, and talking about sexual abuse and all that sort of thing. I mean, I read every single week. There's an article about a young boy, anywhere from 4 or 5 to age 16, who's being seduced by a grown woman. And these people on the internet, mostly because that's where I see it all, they don't think anything of it. A lot of the guys are so awful. They're saying, "You go, dude. I wish somebody had done that to me when I was 10 years old." I said, "Yeah, right. You gonna want some woman molesting your child at 10 years old? Gonna make a man out of him, you say?" No, that's not making a man out of anybody. These people are disgusting. They're pedophiles. If I were in charge of the situation, I'll tell you what I'd do to them. Actually, I won't say because somebody will probably flag this video if I do. These disgusting females you hear about abusing these children are pedophiles. No, the judges don't want to put them in jail for being the predators that they are. I never heard so much garbage in my life. And they have all these excuses, from their past. "Oh, I was abused," and all this stuff. You think they're going to let a guy say that? If a male who had done that, they'd be ready to castrate the poor guy. I mean, I'm not trying to take up for him, but because I don't think anybody should be abused sexually period. But they'd be ready to take this guy out, castrate him, and then throw him in jail for the rest of his life. That's showing the double standards that we have in this country. Those people are disgusting. These liberals are the ones that do it. Okay, I think I've ranted enough here. I think you get the idea what's going on. I think this woman basically is joining the bandwagon of the rest of the feminists. It seems to me that the church people, instead of influencing the world is influencing the church. And all these silly little attitudes that you see in the world are coming into the church. And of course, I know there's probably going to be some feminists that are saying, well, you just are demeaning women. I don't demean anybody. And I already said earlier that I don't think what these men did was appropriate. But to her make herself out to be some big victim because some guy made some snide comment about her or didn't want her to sit in the car, well, I'm sorry, but I'm not about to sit in a woman's car by myself, or vice versa. I don't know why that hurt her feelings so much. I don't know if this woman is married, but I'm like, if she is, she needs to be sitting with her husband, not sitting with strange men in her car, for goodness sake. I don't know what she means by objectification here. I guess she felt like she's being objectified because he made a comment about her looks. I see that all the time. Women make all kinds of comments. When I used to teach school, some of those women had the filthiest, nasty talking mouths I've ever seen in my life, sitting around talking about how they were having sex with their boyfriends and how good they were in bed, and comparing one dude's ding-a-ling to another guy's ding-a-ling. I mean, you can't tell me about objectification. These women are disgusting. And they also treat guys as money objects, too. They think guys are nothing but an ATM machine to them. So don't tell me about objectification. So I think this woman and most of the ones that are doing the complaining are full of crap. Well, anyway, guys, trying to keep the video down below 30 minutes. I would love to hear y'all's comments. Read the article. I'm going to leave a link for you. And tell me what you think about it. Do you feel the same way I do, that she's trying to join this bandwagon of whiny people? I'd really like to hear your viewpoints, and whether you've had to deal with stuff like this before too. I guarantee that most of the guys that come to the channel have had to deal with objectification from females, and maybe even some abuse too, whether it's from them or the system in general. But anyway, I look forward to your comments. Please be respectful and adult. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.